Hello, hello, hello. My name's Felix.
Hey everyone, Roy here.
And yeah, we're here to answer all of the questions that you might have about, managing your Ledger device, everything like that. So yeah, pop the questions in the chat. I already typed that in and we'll try to get to answering them when we can. I think I mention probably too often now, never give out your 24 words and don't sign any transactions you don't trust. And I guess we'll just get straight to it.
Can't be mentioned often enough, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So hello, Linwood Jones, Emil as well. And yeah, Emil as well, if you have any questions, definitely pop them in here. We'll have a chat with you. But yeah, we'll get off to start with the first question. Chan, when Ledger stacks available in stock? Yeah, no specific date for you or anything like that, but definitely keep an eye out. We're working as hard as we can to try and get it out to you guys. So normally I mentioned just to keep track on social media, and you should be able to. We'll be shouting it basically when we have more info. So yeah.
Yeah, we're excited to get it out as soon as we can as well. So stay tuned.
Okay, next question, mass-produced madness. So with the new PayPal integration, will PYUSD be a supported token on Ledger Live? I know we were just discussing it actually. It isn't yet, but it's definitely something I'll actually jot down and we'll actually make that request accordingly. Normally, if you have any token, not just PayPal USD, that you wanted to submit, you can go onto our developer portal potentially to submit it if you have all the details. So like the contract address, website, things like that. And we'll go through that and look through that accordingly.
Yeah, and just for that PayPal integration that was mentioned, just keep in mind that for now, it's for US customers only, and it supports 4 different cryptocurrencies, which includes Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ethereum for now.
All right. Well, I know. What's his name? Jack has a bit of a thing for the Bitcoin. All right. Now, next question was also mass-produced madness. Also, what's with the tweet about STX on Ledger Live? People already annoyed about the lack of details on stack stripping. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're actually not talking about the Ledger stacks. That's the cryptocurrency called stacks. If you would go on the CoinMarketCap and you look it up, you'll actually find it there as well. So it's a new coin that's been added to Ledger Live and for which you can now add an account and manage that cryptocurrency. So yeah, not to be confused with the upcoming device. So good point, by the way.
Yeah. Next is Hope Gone. They mentioned, hey guys, can I withdraw to a spare bank account or Mia card direct from Ledger? Working in Russia and would like to be able to sell crypto while I'm here. I think it's probably in that scenario, it's probably better to have a chat with them. I wouldn't be 100% sure what they'd be able to support. Essentially, the bank would have to be able to support you sending crypto assets specifically, as opposed to like a fiat currency like the ruble or whatever you might be using in particular.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that I have enough knowledge on that. Not my apologies.
All right, so yep, definitely we are on now, Peter. I'm sure you're aware. Next one was Chrisanne Spring. Hey, I'm trying to send XRP to Bitstamp. When I try to verify the transaction on Ledger, it gives me the Bitstamp withdrawal address, the other verifications, and then it shows the send address. So you're trying to send XRP to Bitstamp, and you try to verify the transaction on the Ledger. It gives me the Bitstamp withdrawal address. I think the first thing I'd be thinking maybe that you're talking about you're seeing that on the device potentially, what you're sending to and from, or would it be within Ledger Live? Withdraw, but then and the other verifications, then it shows the send address. That sounds, yeah, maybe like it's on the device. Maybe if you could let us know more info about that. Generally, if we go through the general process when you're sending XRP to an exchange in general, you might need the address you're going to deposit to, so the Bitstamp address in particular, and then you'll need your memo tag, if I remember correctly the name. Yeah. And then once you put those into the send transaction, yes, on device. Yes, so that's exactly what you should be seeing, Chrisanne. Basically, when you look through them, you want to compare between what you see on the website, on Bitstamp in this case, and then what you see on the device. Make sure they're exactly the same. Check how much you're sending for, things like that, and then you'll be able to make sure that you're sending correctly. Another thing I might suggest is, you send a small amount just to double check. That might be a good way just to make sure you're going through everything correctly as well.
Yeah, and exactly. The most important, especially when you're sending to exchanges, do not forget that destination tag. If it's wrong, it can actually have quite some consequences. So yeah, just make sure that that has been entered as well while setting up that transaction.
Okay. Next up, Hotgon, hello. Next, we had Rohit Dutta. If somebody gets my seed phrase and tries to restore on another wallet, how will it look like in my ledger live? It will be empty with no accounts and cryptos. So your accounts will still be there. If someone else has your seed phrase, what will happen is you'll just see a transaction out of the account potentially into their own account. There wouldn't be, the recovery phrase itself is essentially is the thing that you need to keep safe at all times. And so if someone else has it, it's they can act as if they were you in any case. Yeah,
exactly. So those accounts in Ledger Live, they do still stay, but they'll follow the current state of your account. So if someone withdraws those coins because they found your seed phrase in some way, you would see those withdrawals, but your accounts are not going to disappear from Ledger Live.
Okay, next up, Peter. I withdrew Tether from Binance yesterday, but I can't see it in my wallet. The first thing, because normally we might ask for more information, but the main things I normally mention are if you knew what network it was on. So if you knew it was on Binance Smart Chain, just to make sure you have a Binance Smart Chain account added. If it's on Ethereum, Arbitrum, whatever it might be, just to make sure you have that account added as well, is probably the most common thing. I'm not sure if there's any other edge cases you might be able to think of as well.
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind as well is check the network that indeed it has been sent to. You can always contact us as well with the transaction ID. We'll be happy to take a look at it as well. But the first thing that came to mind was network.
I'm not sure if it's still the case, but sometimes they have you, Binance has you convert Tether to BUSD when you deposit it.
Yeah.
So maybe something there to think about, but I think that's a less likely case as well.
Yeah, because even then you would still see the BUSD balance at least.
Exactly.
I know what you mean. It used to convert that.
So yeah, definitely a couple things always. I didn't mention actually before, but you can always get a hold of us, support.ledger.com. We can have a chat with you there. There's a purple button on the bottom right-hand side, as opposed to, going to, if you go to Twitter, we might be able to give you a basic rundown. And unfortunately, a lot of social media has a lot of scammers. So watch out for that. That's why, ledger.com or support.ledger.com, and you can chat to us directly there. That might be helpful as well.
Yep.
Okay. And that would be the first thing that I would mention to you, Mandy. I see you mentioned you didn't receive your Ledger Stacks in India. Oh, sorry, Ledger Stacks. So that wouldn't be something that's shipped yet, but again, no time frame for that, unfortunately. But if you wanted to change anything up about that, you can still contact us as well. We can let you know, but keep an eye out. We'll let you know when that's going to be shipped as well. So that's not yet supposed to be shipped.
Yep, correct.
Rohit Dutta, you mentioned, I read that we can have an additional layer of seed phrase on top of the existing seed phrase in Ledger Live, which is an advanced feature. How can we do that? This is your favorite feature.
It definitely is. Yeah, so this is something that we call the passphrase. The passphrase is basically a 25th word that you can add on top of your seed phrase. Unlike your previous 24 words, which is part of a list of words, 2048 different words in total, the 25th word is completely up to you. And it's capital sensitive, so that means 26 lower cap alphabetical letters, 26 upper cap letters. Then you also have all the numbers, and you even have a set of 32 special characters. So you can see that for each individual slot of your word, you have a lot of choices. On top, the 25th word can be a maximum of 100 characters long. So you can see how that scales really nicely, and you can have so many different choices. Now, it is an advanced feature. See, for the recovery phrase, you would have something called a checksum. To keep it a little bit simple, it basically comes down to, at the end, when you enter your last word, only 8 are going to be considered correct. If you make a mistake, your ledger device would actually tell you, hey, that's an invalid recovery phrase. With a passphrase, there is no such thing as an invalid passphrase. That means you don't have that extra check. Meaning, if you accidentally made a spelling error somewhere, yikes, that can have really big consequences. We actually have a lot of material regarding the passphrase, and I would highly suggest taking a look at it, because I could quite frankly speak about it for 30 minutes, and I want to take other people's questions too. But yeah, we have a wonderful Academy article on it. Also in our help center, we have instructions on how to use it. So I'd really recommend checking that out. But yes, that feature does exist.
Right.
Sorry for the rant there.
No, it's as I said, one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, any updates on Clayton ready to be onboarded to Ledger? I don't have anything in particular.
I have seen that it's being looked into. That doesn't mean I can promise anything, but it's on our radar, at least. That I can say.
All right, next up, Hopegon. Oh yes, with the XRP to rubles, I think with your question, you mentioned transferring to the bank. You generally would need a third party if we're talking about banks that at least I've normally dealt with, and I would probably, it would be safe to assume that it would be the same in this case. I'm not actually aware of any direct TradFi banks that would accept crypto directly.
So yeah, same here, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Now, Rohit, mass-produced madness hit the nail on the head with the passphrase there. Exactly right. And Emil also helping out with Peter as well. Adding the token, I don't think is 100% necessary if you have the account added as well. But yeah, it's definitely, if you don't have the account added, making sure to add the token will do that as well, 100%.
Yeah, and keep in mind, any token that's not supported in Ledger Live, if we're looking at Ethereum or Polygon, you can still use your Ledger device with MetaMask or with MyEtherWallet, and you can still manage them that way.
Exactly. All right, Kristen, it has both addresses, send and receive, and I want to delete the withdraw address. I have sent the destination tag as well. You want to delete the withdraw address.
Oh, you might be talking about account deletion in XRP. Is that what you mean by any chance? If so, that is actually a feature that's not supported in Ledger Live, but it is possible to do with your Ledger device. So that's basically for that 10 remaining XRP. If you want to withdraw that amount, what you can do is use your Ledger device with the XRP toolkit. So that's a third-party wallet compatible with our devices. This allows you to get 8 of that 10 XRP back, with the remaining 2 XRP being burned. So in that way, you could still actually use that. I hope that answered your question.
And yeah, let us know of 100%. It looks like mass-produced madness is definitely answering a lot of the questions for us, and we love that as well. I think the next question, Rohit, is there a way to stop a transaction by blacklisting a wallet or something from draining my wallet? Not the case. In particular, can Ledger help blacklisting a wallet? That wouldn't be the case either. There are circumstances where the stablecoin entity, so something like Tether or Circle, might be able to blacklist addresses from transferring that coin in particular, but nothing in the way of blocking someone from draining your wallet. If someone has your private key or your recovery phrase, there is nothing else that can be done because they have your that private key is basically what you use to sign to transactions. So nothing could stop them if they had that information.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we always hammer so much on keep your 24 words secure. If they're not stored securely, then it can actually defeat the purpose of having a Ledger device. So make sure that it's just somewhere physical, somewhere completely out of reach, somewhere hidden, so that another person could not actually access it. Because yeah, if someone gets your 24 words, then unfortunately, it is game over.
And it's exactly how mass-produced madness mentioned as well. Hisham Arazi, what's the? I mean, I'm assuming what's the news about the VET blockchain native in Ledger? No specific news, but yeah, it sounds like you would be aware that it is something you can use with your Ledger device, just not with your within Ledger Live. There is a help center article about that, so you can definitely check that out. The sync, true, yes.
So actually, even the sync one still works.
Well,
But yeah, so you can still use your Ledger device with the VJ Sync wallet, and that will still work. But indeed, for now, no news yet for Ledger Live.
Okay, and yep, that's mass-produced madness's question. Oh, please provide documentation for passphrase. I can definitely pop that into the chat in a second. And also, I mean, the easiest thing was definitely to put it into the search bar when you're at support.ledger.com. Just passphrase, and it'll definitely pop up. But I'll try to pop that into the chat once we get through a couple more questions as well. Clay on radar, cool, and Razi 589. I think that you asked about VeChain, but it might be something, if it's in addition to another question, it might be getting blocked out as well. So definitely let us know. You might have to rephrase the question. Sometimes it blocks out like transactions IDs and things like that, if that's what's actually happening there as well. Thanks again, HopeGone 2. Emil, guys, what has actually happened with this 10 XRP? Okay, yes. So
that's the account deletion. So that 10 XRP, you can actually still withdraw 8 out of the 10 XRP. Not supported in Ledger Live, but then in that case, use your Ledger device with the XRP toolkit. There's a feature called account deletion. And with that, you can still get 8 XRP back. And the remaining 2 XRP would actually be burned, meaning it's being taken out of circulation, basically.
Okay, but thanks. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like, Emil. And yeah, have a look at that as well. Bill 33. I haven't been able to sign transactions on MetaMask since Ledger had the wallet connect issue. I get a Firefox U2F error message.
Firefox.
So I think in this case they would have to use some kind of Chromium browser, or I'm not even sure because I don't use Firefox. There might have been some setting.
There was,
but they removed it.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So unfortunately for Firefox users, we currently have to recommend using a Chromium-based browser such as like Brave or Chrome, because unfortunately Firefox discontinued is not the right word, but I can't find the right word. Deprecated, exactly. U2F connections. That was the only kind of USB connection that currently works. They do not have Web USB and Web HID, which is a different USB protocol that Chromium, for example, does allow. And that's what's currently still compatible in Chrome. So I'd like to recommend using Chrome, Brave, Opera GX should work as well. So you have a few options.
Exactly. But once you've got that sorted, you should be able to manage it. I do it nearly every day, so you should be all sorted from there as well.
Yep.
Next, Emil, Amigos, any plans to integrate XMR?
Monero.
Yeah, I don't think that there would be any specific plans, especially within Ledger Live. I think it's not the explicit complexity of it, but having to deal with viewing keys and everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it would be something. It's obviously I'm going to be able to pass this on. We always like to take on feedback as well, but no specific plans as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, me neither, indeed. Monero indeed has that, privacy coin part, which does make it a bit trickier indeed. But do keep in mind you can already use your Ledger device with, for example, the Monero GUI wallet or the Feather wallet. Do keep in mind, as mass-produced madness is actually indicating correctly, so nicely done there. These wallets will require you to create your own node as well. So when you set it up for the first time, it's going to take a while because it's going to synchronize the entire blockchain. And when you start it up again the next time, it will first synchronize a little bit to get the latest state again as well.
Just while I'm reading through Jita FWT, I think the issue might be with regards to like if you have transaction IDs, if you have mention of some words in particular, it might block the message. So if you might need to rephrase the message, and we should be able to have a look at your question as well. And then thank you, Emil, and thank you, Bill33 as well. So guys, it's actually only 20 minutes in, but yeah, keep popping those questions if you have any into the chat. We'll try to get everything that you guys want to be answered as well, and go from there. Yeah. But I don't know, anything in the world, in the crypto world, that you've been really excited about recently?
I mean, the release of Ledger Live is definitely something that is pretty interesting.
Yes.
As a new feature with Cardano staking for desktop. Keep in mind, for now, that is only available for desktop. But yeah, pretty sweet. Exactly. So 7, exactly. Perfect timing.
Yeah, I think that is definitely, yeah. I remember doing this for quite a while, and it's definitely something people have been asking for.
Oh,
Even
absolutely.
doing it outside of the wallet, can be opaque and can feel sketchy. So I think is something people are really looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, I remember back when I started here at the company, one of the most famous requests was when Cardano was going to be added for our devices. Then it was quite common to receive the question, when is it going to be in Ledger Live? The next one was when staking. So we are now actually at that point of when staking. And yeah, personally, I'm really happy to see it.
Exactly. Emil asks, is Bitcoin divisible to more units than it was yesterday, even today? I mean, taking the question exactly how it sounds, that's definitely not the case. As far as I'm like, you can't split a Satoshi more than its divisible part.
Yeah.
Unless you have some kind of derivative for it, but
that's what I was thinking as well.
That's about it, I think. Well, if you had some custom derivation, this custom implementation of like WBTC or something, it's the only thing.
That was exactly what I was thinking. So Bitcoin, as in Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, not so much. But there could be a wrapped representation that might be more divisible if that particular token allows for that.
Okay, Paperdoll, you've asked, is anything going on with the tiny bars error issue with HBAR? I know you have to send a lesser amount to get around this, and Ledger suggested also to use Hashpack's front end. I'd have to double check internally about that in particular. There's nothing that I remember really specifically about tiny bars.
Yeah, me neither.
I do remember it a while back. I mean, my main go-tos whenever I troubleshoot any issue actually would just be double check firmware, application, Ledger Live. In this case, I would also check Hashpack versions as well. I would suspect they're all up to date, and if you still are experiencing that issue, that workaround would be what we suggest. And my normal expectation is that if it is raised internally, if you already have a ticket open with us, you can just shoot back the email and just double check, hey, is anything going on? And then they'll be able to let you know in more detail. Otherwise, pop the case number in the chat, and I can also jump in and reply as well, depending on how you'd prefer. But I might need to fully double check that internally and see how we go.
Yep.
All right. Philip Mazzola, does Ledger have any proactive dialogue with, say, the top 50 tokens to get them to be integrated in Ledger Live?
So I do know that is something that we're aiming for. Now there are some that might be trickier. For example, we just talked about Monero, which it is a top 50 coin. That one would be quite tricky. But I also cannot give any guarantees. Rest assured, we are always looking at, adding more cryptocurrencies to Ledger Live. But yeah, we are looking at it at least.
Okay. Emil, I see Cardano is added as stakeable. Nice step. Thank you. Big fan of .eth, but I'm really hoping we add support for unstoppable domains to provide a bit more safety in sending and receiving. That is another protocol that could help as well, I think.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely something we'll pass on. I've definitely had a couple cases with people asking for that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not super niche or anything like that. It's quite common, to be honest, actually.
Yeah, I've seen it before as well,
Yeah.
actually for a bit. But yeah, we do have ENS now, so who knows? Maybe that might be a next step, but I obviously cannot promise anything.
Yeah. All right. We can make smaller units, Nakamoto's. That's okay. If you can make consensus on that, then that'll be great. That'll be something new for Bitcoin.
Will require a fork.
Yeah. All right, Jita, how can I talk to you privately? My problem is too complicated for here. Yeah, you can jump on the Discord, as Mass Produced Madness mentioned. You can, go through the ticket with us and then pop the ticket number in the chat here, and then I'll grab that and then I can have a look at that as well. Otherwise, yeah, Discord is definitely another option, and we wouldn't be doing anything private like DMing over Twitter or any of the social media as well. So definitely stay away from those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And always make sure that you are indeed on our official Discord. Not that you're accidentally going to some kind of fake Discord page. Something that I would recommend for that is go to ledger.com, scroll to the bottom, and you'll find some icons for our actual social media pages.
All right. Mass Produced Madness definitely giving us the big support in the chat.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, Emil, for all the questions as well. Yeah, keep putting those questions in the chat as well. We'll try to answer them. I mean, if you have anything really general as well, we're always here to run through things as well. I know sometimes they ask like opinion questions as well, and of course we can't really answer. Sometimes I get a lot of like price action questions, and I can't really answer those. But yeah, you can also ask us anything as well. That is what we're here for.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, personally, I'm also not a trader, so it's definitely not my forte at any rate. But yeah, when it comes down to, opinions on certain cryptocurrency, stuff like that, I personally always believe that everyone should be able to make up their own mind.
Exactly. John Thompson, hi. You're unable to log on to Ledger Live. Says that you're using an incorrect password, and you were afraid to try and reset the password because I didn't understand why my original password was not working. So I think it's important here to mention, first of all, the password that you're entering into Ledger Live, so like the thing that's on the laptop, would be separated from the thing that the PIN code and the recovery phrase that you enter onto the device. They all serve different purposes of layers of security. So if we start with the password for Ledger Live, that would specifically be for, just entering Ledger Live and seeing your accounts and everything like that. At that stage, it's just to maintain, I don't know, maybe if you share your laptop with someone and you need to maintain some privacy, that might be a way you would do it.
Yeah, exactly. But do keep in mind, because, you're mentioning afraid to reset. Keep in mind that your accounts in Ledger Live, they are all local files indeed. And if you reset them, so long as your Ledger device still has the 24 words on it as intended, you can simply re-add those accounts again. So that should be okay.
And yeah, exactly right. I definitely understand it being very, very stressful, especially when you don't see it or anything like that. If I were to have a chat with you in like over email or something a little more niche, I might suggest is like to back up that local data. And if you do remember the password later, you can always add those accounts back in again. So it's not really something that I normally suggest. But just to add onto edge cases, I always mention random things like that as well.
It's a good point, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Emil, I like that we're funny sometimes. That's okay.
I have my moments.
Okay, sorry, but the next question I can never read Cyrillic, but it's good if they add stock exchange to Ledger, and then there's only one thing in applications to work for a long time yet. I definitely would love to see that kind of functionality.
Same.
Real world assets is definitely a big trend, I think, in the space as a whole, and tokenizing all assets, I think, is a real big it's a really hard. The product market fit is there. It's just about that technical gap, I think, and also the regulatory gap as well is probably really tough to bridge.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe in the future, obviously this is purely hypothesis, but let's say the Nasdaq blockchain with all these tokenized stocks, that would be amazing. But yeah, for as far as I'm aware, I don't know many of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows where the future goes?
Okay, Paper Doll, you're wanting a live update or anything like if while you guys were live, if there are any updates or they're addressing it. I don't know that we would have any updates right now, but yeah, I mean, it's something that I could just jump on afterwards if you'd like. If you want to pop that question, I know you mentioned you already had a ticket. If you pop the question in here, the ticket number in here, I can even like try to answer that right after the chat. So definitely consider that if you'd like to as well. Next up, mass-produced madness. Yes, always love the support as well. When stacks is probably the most said phrase in general, and I'm usually begging for updates. I think that's fair. It's like people want to know what's going on, and yeah, we'll definitely let you know when we do, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're also excited to actually bring that product, so we're definitely working on it.
Okay, Emil, could you guys create a ledger that beats electricity?
When you don't get a spin, like you get a shock.
Whoa. That's I think that's a legal issue.
Yeah, something tells me that as well. But do keep in mind, if you get the pin wrong 3 times, your ledger device, for security reasons, resets itself, so the recovery phrase is removed from it, and that is to make sure that someone couldn't endlessly try to guess your pin code, because yeah, that would definitely be a problem.
100%, yeah. Guys, are we going to see Ledger as a publicly traded company on NYSE? That I would have no idea about. That's way above what we do here. We're just going to answer, your guys' questions. So
who knows what the future holds? I have to leave it there.
Okay, 77. Can you please explain what the Rose E12 variable margin fee and fixed cost is when staking ROS E12?
Yeah, I definitely couldn't.
I'm not 100% sure which, especially ROS E12, ROS E12. I'm not 100% sure what chain or protocol that would be actually, so I'd have to, ROS E12, ROS, rate of staking. I'm trying to the power of 12.
Return on stake.
E12, like the only thing I can think of is like to the power of 12 or like exponent 12 or something like that. ROS E2 has a percentage. ROS squared return on what 77, what asset was that? Is it Cardano or fixed cost when fixed, or is it something else in particular? Definitely let us know. Jose, where we don't have a date for the shipment of the ledger stacks, just while we're getting more info from 77, but we're definitely trying to get that out to you guys as quickly as we can for sure. Mustafa Lam, I can see you mentioned that you have a double transaction on your ledger card. Normally it'll definitely be something you can liaise with banks is the entity that provides the card. They definitely have a support center or like an email where you can go and liaise with them just to see if you can have a chat with them. Yeah, so definitely do that, and they'll definitely should be able to help you out. If not, you can always try to liaise with us as well, but a lot of the time most of the power would be in their hands. Okay, Jose, I've been up screaming that for a while, no updates, but Discord mods say there's going to be an announcement very soon, so no further details. Incredibly frustrating. No notes. I actually totally understand that for sure. 77 with
staking
Cardano.
Okay. Using Eternal. So in that case, I don't actually know the staking pool.
What ROS E12 variable margin fee and fixed cost is when staking. I mean, the only thing that I can think of when just by using the words as they're mentioned. A margin fee is normally something that you would take, maybe something like the staking pool takes a percentage of the fee. That maybe is my like totally random shot guess. And then what was the other word? Fixed cost. Fixed cost might be to enter and exit the pool, maybe, but that is totally me guessing. I haven't been using Eternal specifically for staking.
Yeah, me neither. I've actually used Adelaide for it. So, I unfortunately, I would love to answer that question, but I don't have an answer, I'm afraid.
Those would be my shot in the dark anyway, but I can't stand by that as being 100% correct until I actually jump in and check. But that'd be my guess. Okay. Christian, I have XRP I want to keep on my ledger. I'm just trying to do a transaction and it is glitching. I go to Bitstamp and get the deposit address and put it into the send place in Ledger Live. So that sounds right. When I try to verify the transaction, it gives me the transaction type payment, account 1 of 3. Now it gives the Bitstamp withdraw address, not the address I entered as a deposit address. Bitstamp. Okay, I would definitely maybe get a hold of us in that case, just in case, because in a lot of these situations, I like to get a lot of info. I like screenshots. I want to double check everything because definitely don't want you to like send it someplace where you can't get it as well. Having an address be different from what you see on screen and what you see on the Ledger device itself is definitely could be a cause for concern, or it might be totally okay, but it's all good to double check. I go to Bitstamp and get the deposit address and set it in the place, and it gives the withdraw address. I'm just wondering why there's a withdraw address in there, but that's definitely something I think we could delve in on. I'm not sure if you have any ideas. You've got your thinking.
So I'm wondering if perhaps it's just called differently on the app on your Ledger device. That's also something I'm wondering. But I would say let's be safe rather than sorry. So please don't hesitate to contact us so we can take a closer look. Because that's not something we want to joke around with either. So please contact us.
All right, there's a lot of questions just came in really quickly. Lee, quick question: why is Ledger Live not asking for my Nano when purchasing Bitcoin or Ethereum? And mass use madness, hitting the nails on the head again. It's part of the public key, right? So with Bitcoin, you might have a set of addresses under an extended public key that is stored locally, and you would be able to get the addresses that your Bitcoin account can have. With Ethereum, it's a little bit more simple. It's just the single address, and then it just is stored locally, and that's how people know where to send to and from. So,
yep, absolutely. Now, do keep in mind, ideally, we would always recommend to verify your own receiving address on your Ledger device, and you can, of course, do that before actually purchasing as well. So you could just click on Receive in Ledger Live, and you can verify the address on your Ledger device.
Right. And destination tag, that's correct. And there's Christiane, and then there's the correct, the amount's correct, the fee, then destination tag are now correct. And now correct deposit address. I need somehow to get the first address removed. Yeah, definitely get a hold of us. We just want to make sure with you for saturation. Yep. But yeah, definitely let us know. We'll see what we can do.
So Ross, that is actually what you would like to see as high as possible, if I understand correctly, because it would be the return on stake. 3.3%. I do know there are higher ones out there, but ultimately it is of course your choice which pool you'd like to use. So with the Cardano staking that we now have in Ledger Live, you can actually choose your pool and you would see the commission that they're taking as well. So from what I'm seeing here, it seems like there's a 1.5% commission that this validation pool is taking. That percentage could be lower, but at the same time, perhaps this might be a very reputable pool as well. So there can still be reasons why you would choose it as well. Ultimately, whichever validation pool you're choosing is always going to be up to you. For example, if you agree with the direction that they're taking, We could think, for example, in governance, that could be a deciding factor too.
Right. Kelvin, hi, I've staked ETH on Kiln through Ledger Live. What would happen to my ETH if Kiln goes bankrupt? Now, I think we first have to think about each implementation of staking. So like Kiln is service where you would, Kiln is a place that provides the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure for you to stake your Ethereum. You might provide the capital and then go from there. If Kiln goes bankrupt, there might be some potential issues because you would have to be thinking about what the infrastructure is doing. I think it's definitely not something that it's definitely not something we'd all expect, right? But definitely good to take on the take on these worst case scenarios. But yeah, definitely something that you might need to consider if you have other potential things that you need to take into account. I think there is I think that's what you're looking at, right? There is a Help Center article about this as well.
So I am actually just taking a look as well, because I did kind of wonder how that would work. See, it really has to do with how they're set up, quite frankly. So from there, we do actually have a Help Center article about staking ETH via Kiln in Ledger Live. And if we scroll down, you will find an FAQ as well. And one of them, and I'm just trying to find it again, because unfortunately I scrolled away from it. Here it is. What happens if Kiln goes out of business? And here it does actually state, in that case, the validator's keys will be given to the owners or a ledger to switch infrastructure providers. So it seems like that would still be a way to minimize the downtime, hopefully prevent slashing as well. So there could be another way from there. But that said, we do always recommend our users to do their own research as well, because ultimately, if you're signing something, you always need to make sure what you're getting yourself into as well.
Okay. So Paper Doll definitely can see that ticket number. I'll make sure to record that and jump on that later. I think you pretty much, with 7.7's question, I think that was pretty much sounded like exactly what we're hoping for. So like rate of stake, rate on stake, or return on stake rather, and then the fees that you might have. So I don't think it's confusing at all, but hopefully that's sorted, and yeah, perfect. And next up though, we had John Thompson. To clarify, you didn't forget the password, it just won't open Ledger Live anymore on your laptop. You mentioned backing up. Now, if you are using a Windows laptop, the quick and easy thing would be it's a Ledger Live folder within the app data folder. So you go percentage app data appdata percentage, and that will take you directly to that folder. Again, not really something I normally recommend. Why is that? Because if you delete the local data, it will just come back as if it was new, and then you can just connect your Ledger device with the same recovery phrase that you would have, and then you can add the accounts, I think, as Roy mentioned as well. So there really isn't any data that can't be replicated within that local data repository. So that's the quick way of how to do it. Again, not really something I recommend, because you can just re-add the accounts and go from there. I have spent some time sometimes going 10 minutes adding accounts and stuff like that, but once that's all sorted, you'll be right as rain from there. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, this is a cool one. Emil, guys, don't you think that Bitcoin is categorized as digital gold? This is a payment system that needs to be used. If anybody stacks Satoshis, I think. Damn, some words disappear. Yeah, sometimes with when you're typing it into YouTube. The way I think about it, I definitely had a thesis for some time to see Bitcoin as a settlement layer between very, very large entities, so larger than companies, countries and things like that, or big NGO organizations. And then companies might use something like Ethereum because of smart contract functionality. But I don't know if I necessarily still believe in that thesis anymore. What about you in terms of digital gold?
That's a really good question. For me, it always kind of depends which layer you have it on. If you have it on layer one, kind of might as well, because to put it quite blunt, on the layer one, you're not going to buy a coffee with Bitcoin. However, if you're, for example, using Lightning Network, then it's quite liquid, and you can absolutely use a few Satoshis to buy a coffee with minimal fees. So in that case, it's a bit less so. So for me, it depends what layer you have it on. But yeah, Bitcoin has, of course, stood the test of time quite well, and that is, of course, a really good sign. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds.
Lee, I see Ledger now has a relationship with PayPal. Do you think PayPal may offer a transfer to Ledger wallet option for their UK crypto? That I don't know.
Yeah, so for now it is US only. I did see that PayPal couldn't, I think,
They're stopping
temporarily.
purchases or sales.
I don't remember exactly, but I do remember it's to make sure that they're fully aligned with the regulations. And I believe that they were looking into that, but I also have to admit, I have no additional insights. I just got that from the news articles that I've been reading.
Yeah, I think in saying that we have a relationship, yeah, definitely with PayPal, like with PayPal US, into having that service, but it wouldn't necessarily, give us all that inside info as well.
Yeah.
Emil, yes, as I mentioned before, 7.7. I'm probably going to switch to your Ledger pool since it's going to make it cleaner and in more than one place. Waiting for the HBAR staking via Ledger next.
Who knows?
And into your computer/phone. Oh yeah, we always talk about how keys on a Nano are completely offline, and even then the device is connected. Your keys are safe. How is this true when a Ledger device still outputs a signed transaction? I think it's really cool because it demonstrates like the cryptography, right? Like the signed transaction is the thing that you give to like a node. Use in both scenarios, Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're the thing that you want to send to other people to tell them that you have signed the transaction. So there's nothing else to gain that you don't already want to tell other people that you're doing. Your intent is already there, part of the transaction. So because you're signing directly on the device, that's how they stay still there, and nothing of the private key is being sent as part of the signed transaction. So hopefully that answers to the question, or like I haven't rambled too much about it, but yeah, that's I definitely love that idea about it.
Yeah, I think that's always the part. Like the first time that clicked for me, it was kind of like a new world almost opened up. I was like, oh wait, that's actually quite genius. So yeah, what happens is when you got your Ledger device connected to your computer and you're creating, your transaction on your computer, from there it's going to send a request to your Ledger device. It's saying something like, hey, here's the transaction. Can I have a signature from you? Now that signature is created from your private key, but that signature cannot be used to find any kind of information about your private key. So what happens on your Ledger device is the request comes in, the private key calculates the signature that's required and just only sends that signature back. So you have the signature, which you still can't get the private key from that. And that's kind of the magic of how our devices work.
Okay. And next up, Lee mentioned they're stopping purchases, but sales are still permitted.
Okay.
So at least there's some portion there. I know some people can have issues. I think that's part of why we love like self-custody and that kind of thing. Is like you manage it. It's a bit of responsibility there as well, but then also it means that you're ultimately in control of sending, receiving, and stuff like that. So. But PayPal is definitely a really big step, I think, in making sure that we are able to onboard the next. I say few users, but it might be billions. Who knows? Hopefully,
it's a big name in the mainstream. So yeah,
exactly. Okay, Emil. Yes, you mentioned he was actually mentioning that Bitcoin as digital gold is a bit absurd as a payment network, and that. still worried that there will not be enough sats for the future needs of the economy, especially if some BTC are going to be lost. So I think it's definitely something that there are some people thinking about. Quote unquote thought leaders might be like, thinking about that as well. I'm not sure if it's necessarily legal. I have an answer for that, but I think derivatives is the quickest answer that I'd be able to give in that way as well. And then maybe you never interact with Bitcoin on chain, and then you have a derivative. It might be a bit sad, but yeah.
Yeah, I would also kind of like to argue that, there not being enough Satoshis is kind of the feature. Bitcoin is supposed to be scarce. So if we actually reach that in maybe kind of a strange way, that could be a very good thing, because Bitcoin is supposed to be scarce.
Okay, just bought a Ledger Nano X Shan 1 week ago and set it up in the morning, and it got reset. Got the next morning, and now stuck on 1% booting. Definitely just reach out to us, especially if you just bought it. It's something that we don't. It's not an experience that we want you guys to have as well. Support.ledger.com is where you better hold of us, and then bottom right hand side there's the purple contact us button. And just let us know that that's happened, and we'll try to get that sorted for you. There is a stuck on bootloading steps on the help center as well, so it might be good just to quickly check that out beforehand. But in general, it might be something that you just need to reach out to us for, especially with the symptoms.
This is actually not bootloader, by the way. It's at a 1% booting. So what you can do in that case, normally speaking, is make sure your Ledger device is not physically connected to something, and just let it reach 100%. Once that's done, it should be able to actually work as intended again. Now, if unfortunately you've tried that and it didn't work, please contact us. We are more than happy to help in this.
Oh, no, yeah.
It's a pretty rare case. We really don't see that often.
Okay.
Sorry to hear that that's happened, though. We'll definitely happily help with that.
Right. Next up is Damak. How can I stake HBAR? Is there a way to get XDC? So 2 separate questions there. How to stake HBAR? You should be able to do that. I haven't done it myself, to be honest. Hashback or one of the third-party wallets. Still be able to use your Ledger device in particular to sign transactions. And how to get XDC? You might need to find a provider that will be able to give that to you. So whether that's somewhere in the buy section of Ledger Live, if it's supported in your area, and then otherwise, if it's nothing supported, you might need to use a third-party service as well, which is also possible. And then you can send it to your XDC address. Just make sure you get the XDC address from either within. I can't. They added it within. You could definitely do it within MetaMask or like some other MyEther wallet, some other third-party wallet.
MetaMask, MyEther wallet, those were the first 2 that crossed my mind too. There used to be the XDC wallet, but I think there was a difficulty with it.
So definitely, I mean, when you send it, just make sure to either send a small amount, I think is the main part there, especially with wallets or third-party services that you might need to use. Always good to double check. Mass-produced madness. Thanks. So Bolos ensures that there's no method that can tell the nano that your keys are needed. So Bolos.
So the main thing that Bolos does, which is the operating system running on our Ledger device, is ensuring separation between apps. So it makes sure that if you have app A, it cannot access the private keys of app B. So it makes sure that those 2 apps remain completely isolated from each other. So let me just check the question again. There's no method that that your keys are needed. So the keys are, the apps do keep the keys on your Ledger device itself. So it wouldn't share the keys when you're signing a transaction, for example.
Okay, next up, Lee, I only have a small position in PayPal. It's purchased it when I first got into crypto. Didn't know any better. We'll probably just wait until near the top of the next bull run and sell it all. If you do, I would absolutely commend you. I've definitely tried that before and failed miserably, and I hope you the best success because I was terrible at it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's keep in mind timing that market is pretty much impossible. It's next to impossible. This is not financial advice, by the way. But yeah, do also keep in mind, and this again is not financial advice. People during the bull market of 2017, 2018, top was 20K. Everyone that bought it at the top then said, "Well, I'm never going to be able to financially recover from this." And then the bull market from 2021, or was it 22? 22, I think.
It's all blended in now.
Yeah, it's blended in for me too. But keep in mind, there instead of 20K, we went all the way to 67, 69K. So who knows? Time will tell. But again, not financial advice. That's not my expertise.
Not financial advice also, but no one ever went broke from taking profits, was what I've been...
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, next up, Hashback is great. Yes, indeed it is. Leonardo, this is one I'm not sure about personally. I saw that with the new update, you can stake ADA. Do the rewards go back directly into delegated amount, or do I have to redelegate manually?
That's a good question. So I know that your rewards don't go to your normal address. They go to something separate called the stake address. I can't say I'm 100% sure, but I think what you're actually got on your stake address does generate rewards of its own, but I can't say I'm 100% sure there. So I would have to actually take a look at that first.
Okay, and Lee really liked the Ledger app. We obviously thank you for that, but it would be nice to have a DCA option so I didn't have to do it manually. Now that is interesting. Yeah,
There is one.
I think it's tough because the Discover section is definitely an underused part of Ledger Live, and it's definitely something that you can jump in and double check. It does depend on the asset that you want to buy, but it's there is definitely DCA services that you can use within the Discover section.
Yeah, so the one that immediately came to mind there, I just had to quickly look up the name, so that's why you saw me typing there. So there's under the Discover section a dApp called Stacking Sat, with which you can actually DCA. So that option is available in the Ledger Live Discover section.
Right. Okay. Emil, thank you. Yes, it doesn't export your keys at all. Emil, when Nano Crystal Ball device? When? I think I don't know anyone would be working here if we had developed that. That would be quite a device, I think.
Yeah, this is giving me Back to the Future vibes.
And Mass Producer Madness, I definitely would love to see more animations and stuff like that. Not financial advice, it's definitely something I would say a lot as well.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Stacking Sat is super expensive outside of France. Ooh.
I actually haven't personally used it, so I couldn't comment on that.
I think, if that is the case, you do always have other options, but it's definitely something that we'll always take on. So I'll definitely pass on that feedback. We always want to, make the product better for you guys and have it be something that you guys love to use. You know what? I'll have to make a last call for questions at this time because I didn't even realize it's 5:28.
Yeah, time goes fast.
Yeah. You guys have been great. I always love answering some of the really in-depth questions that you guys ask. 7-7. When staking through Ledger, is there a staking history within Ledger? You can see what you earn every time. I think it definitely would depend on where you're staking. A lot of the times, it's often the case that you might not. But yes, there are some that you would have all of the history. I think Cosmos has a pretty good history. No, and Tron definitely has a nice history for sure. I'm just trying to think through my instance of Ledger Live. My memory is terrible. I have to look at it normally.
By the way, just to come back to that Cardano question, if the rewards that you're generating are already kind of compounding and generating their own rewards, I just took a very quick look, and it does appear to be the case. Yeah.
Okay. I think that just should be about wraps it up. Thank you, Lee77, definitely mass-produced madness for sure. Emil, everyone, Lee, I'm just rattling off all the names. But yeah, we have a lot of streams. We try to stay online every day, either on YouTube, on Twitter, just to, go through that with you guys. Again, don't give out your 24 words. Don't sign any transactions you don't trust. And yeah, stay safe in the markets out there.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate it.
Every week. See you guys.
Bye, guys.